And football season continues. Well, not continues. Our
Continues to
football
get
stuff goes
closer.
right. It continues to get closer. Hell yeah. The more I read about it, man, the more I'm just getting so jacked about this season.
I'm so ready. The new playoffs, the new teams, the new
Well,
situations.
it's going to be incredible.
Ah,
but we're going through conference by conference, letting you know what's going on with each individual conference as it moves up. This week we're going to be doing today's show. We're going to do the MAC and the Sunbelt.
Hey, you got to cover them.
You guys calm down.
you got to cover them. We're going to shut the phones off.
Chill.
While we can do this.
Keep the applause down.
Stop all the phone calls from coming in while we're going over it.
Well, here we go. We're going to get into this here. There's some decent stuff going on here. So come on back in. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Midnight Riders podcast. I am Johnny.
I'm Chuck.
We are here to do some serious conference stuff today, baby. We've got the MAC. That's right.
And the Sunbelt.
The MAC is
Don't forget about the Sunbelt.
And the Sunbelt. Well, I mean, the thing about these little conferences is you see we've taken the MAC guys down out here, the Mid-American Conference, and we've got them right out here. We're going to put them out here in order as what we think they're going to finish last to first. So we're going to go team by team and just do what we can with them. There's not a lot of information on these teams. The worst part about this conference here is they're the whipping boys for most of these big conferences that want their non-conference schedule.
And for the portal.
And for the portal.
They're the minor league for a lot of these teams.
Well, like we said,
a lot of teams coming out
on the last cast, with the other conferences that we did, there's a lot of these kids that they're not going to go to the big guys. But once they're seen, they got a shot.
But the MAC's got one of those oddities. They have one new head coach.
I know.
Just one. Everybody's stuck, which is weird nowadays.
Well, it was something
else, over at Buffalo.
Something else about the MAC I found very interesting in doing a little research on this deal. This conference has stayed intact, and they got the same teams, and they run it like a big time conference. I mean,
they better be careful because UMass comes next year.
Well, it gets rid of one of the independents.
Exactly.
We'll be down to two independents. Oh, I know. Where's UMass?
No, they got three. UMass is in.
Oh, they're a basketball conference.
Here.
Oh, they're over there?
No.
Who are they with? They're Conference USA. Well, then who's the USA going to grab? They'll probably grab New Mexico or UConn.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. They might win that conference.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to start at number 12.
Well, you want to go with how they finished?
Let's go. Let's go with who we think.
Who we think?
The way it's going to go. I got number 12. I got Kent State.
Yeah, you got to go Kent State. Yeah. I mean, that's just those poor bastards.
Well,
they are what they are. Unfortunately, they're fairly new.
I mean,
brand new last year, brand new coach.
Yeah.
They lost their offensive coordinator. Was that Sean Lewis guy who went to Colorado and followed old Neon, and they're just going to struggle.
Colorado got a new coach.
Yeah. They did have. I did, and I had research, guys. Sorry, I'm not a Kent State guy.
I got you.
They did have a receiver on the preseason all-conference team. Yeah. It's about as good as it got, though.
Like you say, this is a great place for kids in the transfer portal. They get out there and they can try to play. Cause see, look, like Kent State here. Their 2024 schedule, their first 4 games, okay, 3 of them are against at Pitt, at Tennessee, and at Penn State. They're gonna make money for for the school.
Do something for that NIL shit.
They're gonna get thrown around, but these kids are gonna get some serious experience, and they're gonna get seen. So kudos to Kent State for scheduling what they did to let the kids get out there and be seen. But
I mean, you're looking at a team that averaged 14 points a game last year and gave up 34.
Right.
They're gonna get hammered. I mean, they're gonna struggle to win.
But the fun part,
win a couple games.
Yeah, but the fun part about these is there's always going to be 1 or 2 upsets throughout the year.
Sure.
This could be one. I mean, because you look at Kent State. Okay, their first game they're playing at Pitt. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a wake-up call. Their second game is against somebody named St. Francis. They probably will win that game. Third game, they go to Tennessee, then they go to Penn State. There's a chance that they could, I mean, they're going to get some serious experience first 2 or 3 games of this season.
And you still got the bottom half of this conference.
Sure.
That's not very good at all. So
Sure.
there's a shot they can improve.
Well,
they only won 1 game last year.
Well, yeah, I mean, looking at their schedule, they're reasonably probably going to win only maybe 3 or 4 games, and maybe 4, maybe 3.
I think 4 is unfortunately I think 4 is a stretch.
Yeah.
I mean they had no rush, they had no defense.
Right.
They lost guys to the portal. They get. I mean, dude, I don't know if they've even. I want to say. Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't think they even picked up anybody in the portal. Of course, we wanted to jump over. So yeah, they're going to struggle. But I take that back. They did pick up what's considered the number 7 best transfer in the conference. Connor Maladoni, transfer tight end from Tiffin State College.
Okay.
So that's the world of Kent State, unfortunately.
Moving down to the number 11 team, who we think is going to finish there. We're looking at the Akron Zips.
Akron, yes sir.
They lead off the season, and on their schedule, they go to the place called Ohio State. And then they've got Rutgers, and then they've got Colgate, and then they've got South Carolina. So, again,
bank that money.
They're going to make some bucks.
Right.
But they're going to get drilled.
They're going to get hammered. But the thing that they've only won 7 games the past 5 seasons.
Right.
First of all.
Yeah.
But the one thing everybody talks about is they only scored 16 points a game. They only gave up 28. I say only, not great, but they got this edge rusher that I just kept everywhere you read about C.J. Nunley. Yeah, he's an edge guy that everybody raves about. So it's kind of stacking everything around this guy.
In this
he's a senior.
In this conference, you're going to be playing the teams in this conference. That's going to be the bulk of their schedule. So I mean, anybody in this conference has a chance to win the conference, which is a big deal at this level. But again, you got to start out with Ohio State. Then you've got a Rutgers team who's not that good. They could actually beat a Division I power conference team when they play Rutgers.
Right. And they got a new quarterback. They got the kid's transferred. His kid's been to Cal. He's been to North Carolina State.
Right.
Transferred in Ben Finley.
But why isn't he still there?
So he went from Cal to North Carolina State.
Right.
He's climbing down the ladder.
Yeah, because he's not good enough to play.
Right. But if he was good enough to get there, maybe he comes down to a level where he can perform.
He's got the skills.
So yeah, he had to have some kind of skills.
He wouldn't have
been on those radars.
He wouldn't have been recruited had he not had the ability.
You got to kind of hope for the best for him now.
That's true. All righty. Next team we're going to go to is Eastern Michigan.
Eastern, really? Okay. I had Buffalo.
We got Eastern Michigan.
Okay.
Pretty much the same story. I mean, they start out, but see, they got a better shot. That their non-conference games are UMass, Washington, Jacksonville State, and St. Francis. 4 very winnable games.
Very much so.
I mean, Washington. They can't beat Washington, but I mean, you got UMass, then you go to Washington, but you got Jacksonville State and St. Francis. 3 of those games could possibly be won. So then you're back in conference here where you have a shot. I mean, from everything I've read, is the only reason they're down there, in the 10 spot in the prediction area, because they just didn't have much last year and they don't have much coming back.
Yeah, no, they and unfortunately Eastern Michigan lost. I believe this is the team that lost their quarterback. Sorry, forgive me. I believe this is the team. The quarterback is going to Buffalo, actually.
Yeah,
Cole Snyder. So they.
Right.
I don't understand that, but I'm sure it's best for the kid.
Well, why it's a lateral move?
I don't understand it.
I don't know. Unless he was told he's not going to start.
Right. I mean, they lost him. They lost their big edge rusher to Arizona State, so they got kind of hit by the portal here.
Yeah.
And they lost their starting wide receiver, Porter Rooks, to North Carolina State. So they took a hit.
Yeah.
So they're not going to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not going to improve.
Let's move over to Ball State.
Ball State.
Well, schedule for Ball State, they start out with an open date. They actually don't play week 1. They start out second week at Missouri State. Then they go to Miami. Then they've got Central Michigan.
University of Miami or Miami, Ohio?
University of Miami. And then James Madison is another one of their non-cons. So, I mean, they've only got one overly tough non-con. So, but there again, they weren't overwhelming last year.
No.
But
not at all.
They with that non-conference schedule, they got a shot to do something.
I see. This another team who's kind of based on they got up 24 points a year, 24 points a game last year.
Right.
But again, like it's a thing in this conference, they only scored 18. They just they need offense.
Wow.
They just got to have offense. They struggle. There's they've got a lot to replace. They lost a lot of the transfer. They lost receivers. They lost corners. They lost running back. They lost.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, they got a redshirt freshman that came in. This Caden Samanza quarterback. It's another one. This is like the team's balloon. They're just hoping for, they're just hoping for something.
Well, the thing about a conference like this and the lower division conferences like this, they go out there and they want to win their conference. That's what they shoot for.
Yes, that's what they don't have. They don't.
This team, they weren't promising last year at all. They've got a shot this year because their non-conference games are not as difficult as the others, and that's three easy winnable games that some of these other teams don't have. So. Let's move to Central Michigan, if we can. Central.
You're going to Central, another team that finished 5-7.
I know, and I'm not.
That's the bad thing about this conference. They all the lower 3/4 of this division just beat up on each other.
Well, sure they did, and that's what I mean. They're non-conference. They go to Illinois, which is not overwhelming. They go to FIU, which is not overwhelming, and they've got San Diego State, which they got them at home. So they might actually, pull something there. So, I mean, they've got some winnable non-conference games. Then they get back into conference.
They do.
Now, as we get to the top of this conference, the teams are a little bit better. But the lower end of this conference is just not really. They're going to have to come up with something different than they had last year to compete to win this conference.
And they're going to have to. I mean, they gave up 31 points a game.
Exactly.
But they got to. And here's another one. It's going to be a common thing. They got to transfer in for quarterback Joe Lavis Jr. That they're talking about if he can win the starting job.
But does he have any help? Does he? What's the receiving core look like?
He's coming from Iowa.
Did they get anything on defense? See, defense is the key in this conference. Once they get into conference play, even they still couldn't stop each other. Most of these teams in this conference, defense is not of high value down here because a lot of because all your premier defensive guys are going to the big conference.
Yeah, you don't have a whole lot like that. Like I go back to that C.J. Nunley. There's not a lot of guys who's a senior still sticking around, still playing. Where they probably could have gone all the other directions, but
sure,
they've got a couple of guys from what I'm seeing. They got a couple defensive backs. They got a couple defensive backs that people are looking at, and they've got they're just not overwhelming, of course. Well, but they've got to get
any of these teams. Well, any of these teams, you got to watch the first game or two and see if they're real. Yeah. See if they're real, because these non-conference games really wake them up to see what they are.
And that's that's the fun part about watching some of these. Yeah. Watch them play these non-conference. You'll see some of them on Thursday night on ESPN. I like watching these kind of teams because you want to see what's coming.
Buffalo, Lafayette, Missouri, UMass, and UConn.
I'm telling you,
they can win all 4 of those games. Well, Missouri's gonna be pretty good, but they can win 3 out of those.
Buffalo is doing my research, right? Which I had to do,
right.
Buffalo's kind of intriguing. As far as recruiting, they had the #1 recruiting class in the conference this past year.
And
doesn't do them any good now.
Well, but that's saying something with this conference.
Exactly. They're strong on defense. That's going to be their strong suit.
Which there's not much defense in this conference to speak of. So once you get to conference play.
And let me digress. They're supposed to be. I mean, they gave up 27 points a game last year. They're supposed to be.
But the others are giving up 31 and 34 and 37.
They're supposed to be better on defense.
than the other team.
They've got some potential. I don't think they're going to finish in the top 5 of the division or nothing, but
They could. I think they can.
I mean, they got this kid, this linebacker, this Sean Dolak guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the ones that's all over. They got both their, Sean Dolak is right. I think. Yeah, they got a couple linebackers that are on the preseason all-conference team.
Right.
So they're banking on the defense improving, which they're going to have to be to make a dent in this conference. If you got a good defense in this conference, you got a shot.
Well, you got a shot to win the conference.
Yes.
I mean, offense is all this thing is.
Yeah.
And so, getting to what the top 6 here, in my semi-what, maybe sort of uneducated opinion, I'm looking at Western Michigan. But see, the next 4 or 5 teams here that I got listed are all going to be within shouting range of each other. So
you got Western Michigan?
I got Western Michigan at this point.
Okay.
They're
they finished in another one that finished, like I said, middle of the road, 6 and 7 last
Right.
year. It's a
Yeah.
common theme. Now I know they've got a running back, Jalen Buckley, who is already on the Walter Camp
right.
watch list. They got a receiver.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're
Kenneth Womack. He's on it. They got potential.
Here's why I think they might be there. I think their schedule is set up to be more successful, and here's why. They open up at Wisconsin, which is probably a loss.
Sure.
Then you go to Ohio State, which is definitely a loss.
Sure.
And then you got nothing. The rest of the schedule is in conference. The only other 2 non-cons they got Marshall and they got Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah.
So I mean, they get their 2 big ones out of the way. They either play well or they're going to get beat probably in both games. But if they play well enough, it's going to build that momentum. It's going to build that confidence that you played these 2 big guys really, really well,
Right.
or you got a lot of experience or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then you move into a schedule that's a straight shot of nothing but conference teams
Right.
or lesser. So I think that gives them an opportunity here.
They've got some weapons. So they got a good running back. They got
Right.
2 really good receivers. They got a transfer kid that came in as a receiver.
Oh, they did get a transfer.
They had a gay kid named Devon Mortimer. He came from Louisiana Monroe.
Okay.
Their quarterback that they thought was going to get the starting position is Trayson Bourget. He went out. He transferred out. He went to BYU to play backup.
See, this
reason.
is something that's intriguing to me, that teams at this level, whether it be the MAC or the Sunbelt or CUSA or whatever, that when they get a transfer in from another school, it tells me that these kids are seeing something at this school that's worthy to transfer
To at least
into.
give it a shot.
So whenever a team right here gets a transfer of a kid, it makes me think they've got something going. So
Yep.
I just
I think there's something there with them. I said they averaged 23 points a game last year, but they gave up 32.
well, but I see, like I say,
There's potential there.
I may be way off base here, but I look at the schedules of these teams as my go-to as to
Sure.
why I think they can be better.
Right.
Because if you play a nobody, and then you play a powerhouse, then you play a nobody, then you play a powerhouse, then you go to conference, it just really just
helps.
there's no momentum for you to build.
Right.
If they get their 2 powerhouses are out of the way, and then they got
See what
nothing.
they got.
So all right, let's move on to team number where I think is going to be
What do you got?
number 5. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Ohio. The Ohio Bobcats.
Okay, that's where I had them. I had them at number 5 also.
They've got a very interesting non-conference schedule. You've got at Syracuse, which is winnable.
Right.
Then you have South Alabama at home. You got Morgan State at home, and then your only other non-con is an away game, but it's Kentucky, which depending on what Kentucky does, it's.
But you get this. This is the team scored 24 points a game, but they led the conference in defense. They gave up 15 points a game last year.
Wow.
They're strong on defense.
They're in the wrong conference.
But they also lost 12 to the portal. 7 on offense, 7 starters on offense, 5 on defense.
Okay, maybe my schedule scenario is not really good.
But their quarterback, Quarter Fork, he transferred out to Indiana.
But let's look at it. But let me ask you this: if they're good enough to transfer the portal, that means they were coached up properly.
You would think. Yes, you would think.
So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that.
Right. But they got a transfer kid for Northwestern. Yeah, the Northwestern running back, Anthony Tyus. He came over.
Okay.
Got a kid coming up, but they had, like I said, their leading receiver that's still on the team had 11 catches last year. So they lost their receiving core. They lost their
Wow.
quarterback. They lost their running back. So it's up in the air.
Yeah.
They lost a whole lot, but with the defense and the coaching they got, and the coaching staff stayed intact. So there's a lot of hope for this group. I mean, they finished 9-3 last year. They're going to be there.
Sure.
So
Yeah, they are.
that's a team that I think is going to. I had them at number 5 also, but I almost had them. I mean, I don't know who you got number 4, but
Number 4, I'm shooting at Northern Illinois.
that's who I had. I went back and forth on 4 and 5 on those two.
Yeah, we'll go Northern Illinois. I mean, their schedule, starting off with their schedule, I love their logo. One of the coolest logos. Yeah. You got Western Illinois, which is winnable. You've got at Notre Dame, which we can all pray that it's winnable. Then they got an open date. Then they got Buffalo, but then they go to North Carolina State, and then they have UMass. So there are 4 non-conference games. Notre Dame is the only one that's a guarantee they're probably going to lose.
Right.
And the other 3 potential. I mean, so
they got one of the best players in the conference.
Yeah.
Ontario Brown, the running back.
Yeah.
He's a senior. I mean, he's on watch lists all over the place. So
Right.
he's one that they're going to have to watch. They averaged 25 points a game, gave up 21. This is a team that they didn't get hit real bad on the worst. I mean, from what I'm reading, the worst transfer they lost was their center, which sucks. Granted, it's a big loss, but they're pretty stacked offensively. From what everybody's thinking, what everybody's seeing. Quarterback play is up in the air, as is with most of them.
Well, but they didn't lose much to the portal,
No.
and they did well.
No.
They played pretty well last year.
Right.
So that's more than most teams in this conference.
Yes.
So
Yep.
number 3, we're going to move to Bowling Green.
Bowling Green finished 7-5 last year.
Yeah, and here's their schedule. Okay, going out on a limb, and let's all pay attention. They start off with Fordham. It's probably a win. Then they go to Penn State. As you guys know, everybody watches the show here. I'm not a fan of Penn State.
Right.
They're always hyped. I think there's a shot here's my deal. They play Penn State, then they have a day off, then they play at Texas A&M. I think Bowling Green can win one of those 2 games. I think they may beat Penn State, or they might beat A&M. I don't know what's going on in my head, but I think Bowling Green wins one of those 2 games. I don't know.
I would give a shot to the A&M. I don't know if I would hope the Penn State, but I
I don't know. The stuff I read on Bowling Green, it's kind of like the other teams you've read through here. But this one just,
no, they've got.
I don't know. There's just something that makes me think they can pull an upset on one of those 2 teams early in the season.
Yeah, well, their quarterback is is one of the top players in the conference. Connor Bazelak,
Exactly.
or whatever.
Exactly.
They got a couple transfers. Hell, they got an Auburn transfer at receiver.
Exactly.
They were already the 2nd highest scoring team in the. They averaged 26 points a game last year.
This is what I'm saying.
So
Penn State and A&M are always hyped up here.
Yes.
And they always perform here.
Yeah.
And so I just think if there's going to be one of these upsets, I just really look at this
they got a shot.
at them going into Penn State or them going into A&M and
Green,
doing something.
That's the Bowling Green's one of those teams that you always one of those mid-major whatever the hell they call them now.
I know.
No, there's an official term for it now, but
Well, it's the others.
the other.
Mid-majors, or it could be they call it the non. No, it's not the non-Power 5. It's the group of
five. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
There you go. But I'm just gonna keynote that to say I think one of those might be a pull. But now the top 2, we're gonna go with Toledo.
Yeah, I think it's a
at number 2.
I think it's a no-brainer. You're 1 and 2 are where they ought to be.
Well, you got Toledo, then you
Toledo,
got Miami of Ohio. I mean, you got them both side by side here.
Toledo's probably got one of the best players in the conference, safety Maxon Hook. He's going to the pros. He's going to be a draft.
Listen to these 4 non-conference games for Toledo: Duquesne, UMass, Western Kentucky. No, I'm sorry. Mississippi State. I mean, in Western. I mean, that's it.
Mississippi State's the only one that should be a guaranteed loss. I don't know if that's even a guaranteed loss.
I don't know. Mississippi State's always either here or here, so they're getting a lot of hype.
Right.
But that's the only quote tough non-conference game they have. If they win that, hell, they can run the damn table.
I'm saying the fact that they're not scheduling
Yes.
the big boys.
Yes.
Let you know that they're going in. They realistically think they got a shot. I mean, they got a transfer receiver, Jerwan Newton. They've got a couple of transfers. They didn't lose much off the portal. They lost Daquan Finn, their quarterback. But they've got a couple guys coming. Like I said, they averaged 32 points a game. They led the league in scoring.
Well, the group of 5 is going to get one guy in the big play in the playoffs. They are. I think Toledo's got a shot because of this schedule.
Yes.
Because of this schedule. Because Miami of Ohio, who we're going to do next year, I think they're the best team in this conference. But
I do too.
Their non-conference schedule is at Northwestern, home against Cincinnati, at Notre Dame, and UMass. They can lose 3 of those.
Lose 2 or 3 of those, yeah.
And so, now I know only conference record gets you the conference win,
Right.
but that's going to knock them down to where they can't be high in the polls. Whereas Toledo's going to go out there and win possibly 3, if not all 4 non-conference games to keep them in the top 25 when they go into conference play to all these teams that have no defense and they've got a decent offense.
I mean, so Toledo finished. I mean, it's a realistic shot. Toledo can run the table in conference.
I think so.
They run the table and go 9-0 in conference, and yeah, you got a shot of them being one of those teams that can get that outline.
That's my deal. That's kind of where I'm looking. Yeah. I mean, I think Bowling Green can pull one of the big upsets of the year. And I think Toledo wins this conference. I think Toledo wins, and I think Toledo's got
a shot.
I think they're going to be one of two, maybe 3 teams that can get that 12th seed in the playoff as a group of 5 team because of the schedule.
I mean, and we'll talk about it now, but I still think Miami's going to win. I think that Miami just. I mean, they got the best player in the conference, and with Brett Gabbert, the quarterback that everybody talks about when you talk about this conference.
Yes.
Brian Ugly, the edge rusher that they got. Miami's just they're good. They're good. They only gave up, they averaged 16. Yeah, gave up 16 points a game last year. They're tough. They're strong, they're good. They're just
they're proven. They're a proven commodity.
Yeah.
In this conference, and they're picked to win the conference because they're probably better than every team in this conference.
Right.
But what's going to hurt them is that non-conference schedule. It's going to hurt them. It's going to keep them down in the polls. And it's going to give Toledo the opportunity to be higher in the polls than them. Then whenever they play Miami, when do they play them? Miami, Toledo. We'll see. That's October 5th. That's right in the middle of the year. Yeah. So I mean,
and they do have one. I mean, Brett Gabbert, the quarterback, which everything I read, everything I saw, he's the best player in the conference. They're expecting him, but he's coming off a bad leg injury last year.
Yeah. Well, and
they're saying he's ready.
Well, and the game against Toledo was at Toledo, so they're going to have that advantage as well. So it's going to
their season's going to go like Gabbert goes.
It's going to be a fun conference to watch because of the inner conference, but the non-conference schedule for this conference is what's going to make or break it.
Yeah, because of the way they schedule, and everybody's scheduled very top heavy, with the exception of Toledo, which is geared up
for this
to do it. I think so. I agree.
All right.
So who are you thinking?
I think Toledo wins it.
You thinking Toledo?
I think Toledo takes it because of the schedule, and I think they're. I think they're going to be. I think they're just this much below Miami of Ohio as far as talent.
Yeah.
And so I think but I think the game being at Toledo, I think Toledo beats them, and I think Toledo runs the table, and I think they can go. I think they go the whole season 1, maybe 2 losses.
Do they have they've got a championship game, correct?
They do have a championship game.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was going through. I'm thinking Toledo runs the table, and I'm thinking Miami beats them in the championship.
That's tough.
And now, as a sleeper, I think Northern Illinois has a chance to pop it.
Well, the problem with that is
they have an outside shot.
If that's the way it goes, and they end up in a title game, whichever 2 of the 3 go to the title game,
No, it hoses the conference.
Well, because the only team I think has got a shot to be in the top 25 by that time is Toledo because of the schedule. Because I figure
Miami,
Northern Illinois.
No,
God, my brain. Because Northern Illinois, I think, is going to lose a couple of their non-conference games. Going to keep them.
And
down
they could.
There. And then, so I'm
thinking that if there's a surprise, that's what I'm saying is going to be possibly the surprise into this is Northern Illinois. But yeah, I think it's Ohio, it's Miami and Toledo again.
All right, well, let's take a couple of minutes here, take a break, get us a drink, and we'll be right back. We're back for the Sunbelt Conference.
All you Georgia State and Appalachian State people, sit down and buckle up.
That's right.
Get good.
App State, baby. the upset-minded team of Appalachian State. I tell you what, got a recap on last year?
Oh yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah. Finished up with Troy playing App State in the championship. Troy won it. Had a bit of an upset there at James Madison's, which we'll talk about. It's supposed to be the top team. They got knocked out. But Troy was his chance again. So
okay, well let's
Troy is Troy. Troy is one of those teams that's been talked about to jump to bigger conferences, but they either refuse or
don't I don't think they're going to be all that this year. I don't know. Here's what I got. This is what I'm talking about. Maybe my top going from bottom up. I think they got 14 teams this year.
Yeah, they did.
16 teams. Louisiana Monroe. Weak.
But they got a cool name. They're the Warhawks. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
They didn't win a game in conference. They
No.
didn't. Right. There's not a. Yeah. There's not a lot to say. I mean,
Well, they're
they only got
unfortunately
10. They got 10 players returning. They got 27 JUCO transfers.
Wow.
They're that school that, your JUCOs and your guys who didn't get heavily recruited. I need somewhere to play that's going to get seen.
Yeah.
And let's see if I can get somewhere else. Is what they amount to.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Sure.
I mean,
Everybody's got to have them. They got to go somewhere.
Well, I mean, they got a non-conference schedule of, let's see, they got Jackson State, they've got Alabama Birmingham, and then they play this team, Texas Longhorns. So yeah,
They're still good?
huh?
They're still good. Okay.
Yeah, Louisiana Monroe. They got a cool little logo.
Oh, they do. I like the name.
The thing about it is they're just outmanned. I mean,
they are.
I don't know if they're even going to win a game.
I mean, you're going through, and I had to double check because I thought maybe I looked at it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their preseason.
Yeah.
All three teams, and they don't have anybody. So it's going to be another rough season.
Yeah.
Louisiana Monroe is Louisiana Monroe. They're just going to have to.
Yeah. Well, moving up the ladder here, I mean, they'd be lucky to win a game. I mean, let's move up to somebody here. I mean, these guys might win 3 or 4 games. We're looking at Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. What did they do last year? They finished 3-9 last year. Yeah, they're they had a bunch of transfers. I mean, the offense lost 9 starters, 4 transfers.
Well, you look at let me go back to the schedule. I'm sorry, didn't we catch that? They got a non-conference. They go to Kentucky. They open the season at Kentucky. Then they've got Southeastern Louisiana. Then they have South Florida. Then they play at Jacksonville State. I mean, it's not a strong non-conference schedule. So,
but here's the interesting part I found about it. Their quarterback, Tate Rodemaker, he's transferring in from Florida State.
Yes.
So, again, we go back to what we've had in previous conversations. They may not be very good, but if you're recruited
by Florida State, there's something there.
There's got to be something. Now, I don't know. I don't do research on Mr. Rodemaker.
Sure.
If he's a attitude issue, if he's a troubled kid, or if he just wasn't getting playing time behind the true freshman.
He's probably another guy that was. Exactly.
And I mean, there's a chance. Not saying they're going to jump up and win 8 games all of a sudden, but if he performs. Who's to say they don't jump up and win 5 or 6 games?
Well, they don't
That's
have
what you need.
The non-conference schedule is winnable.
Yes,
I mean they can win all 4 of them, and so it's an opportunity for them to really perform well the first 3 or 4 games of the season.
Exactly.
You win 2 or 3 of those non-conference games, then you're back into this conference, which isn't strong.
No,
and if your quarterback plays as well as he was recruited to play in Florida State, hell,
yes, it's worth a shot.
Anything can happen.
Yes, definitely.
Moving on up, Old Dominion. Not New Dominion. No.
The old one.
Oh.
Okay, but the thing is here again, they got the preseason defensive player of the year, Jason Henderson, the linebacker they got there.
ODU does.
Yeah. So defensively,
well,
I mean they're just
they got to non-conference is at South Carolina, then you play East Carolina, then you have Virginia Tech at home, and then you go to Bowling Green. So I mean, 3 of those 4 are losable.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So I don't know.
They've got, what they say here, they got 3 of the returning receivers are coming back. They got 4 of the linemen are coming back.
Okay.
The problem is they're replacing their entire defensive backfield, but their linebackers are strong. They got.
Do you have last year's record?
Old Dominion? Yeah, they finished 6-7, so 5-3 in conference.
Okay. Okay.
With the defense they got, from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, led by this Jason Henderson guy, I mean, they got a chance to make some noise.
Yes.
Again, they're not one of those teams I think is going to jump up and take out App State or James Madison or Troy, but they can cause some problems. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull. I mean, who'd you say they got? I wouldn't be surprised to see them pull an upset on somebody. I mean, they're capable.
Oh, you mean their schedule?
Yeah.
They're at South Carolina. They're at Bowling Green. They have home games against East Carolina and Virginia Tech.
See, East Carolina.
They can beat them.
I haven't looked at Virginia Tech yet to see what they got coming, but
they
always somebody that
they're a low level.
Right.
They're a low level big division team.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think Old Dominion is one of those teams that can possibly surprise with the defense they got. I think they got a shot.
Okay. Well, let's look at Georgia State. Schedule. They go to Georgia Tech to start the season. Then they have Chattanooga. Then they have Vanderbilt. And later in the year, they go to UConn. So there again, really only one non-conference game that's out of control.
And they were 3-5 in conference last year. Finished the season 7-6 though.
Wow.
Georgia State's not bad.
They were 3-5 in conference and won 7, so they won all 4 non-conference games.
Non-conference. They lost.
Shit.
They lost their head coach. He went to be the tight ends coach at South Carolina.
Okay.
So one of their, what they say, the longtime assistant, Dylan McGee, but he's been there forever.
Yeah.
But he's a high school guy and been in the system and all this other stuff. So that's going to take some doing. That's going to take that. That's what everybody's kind of worried about.
Yeah.
Is he going to make that transition? Is he going to make it worth? They don't have a whole lot of They don't have a whole lot of players that I'm seeing that I've read about.
Right.
That they're saying, hey, watch out for this guy or this guy, this guy. They're just kind of in limbo because of the coaching changes and because of where they were at. So.
What about Georgia Southern? What'd they do last year?
Georgia Southern. They finished 6-7, 3-5 in conference.
Well, they go against. They start out at home against Boise. Then they go to Nevada. Then they've got South Carolina State. Then they go to Ole Miss. So there's 2 or 3 of those games they can lose.
They can lose them, but see the thing is, they've got 9. They got 9 players on the preseason all Sunbelt team. They lost their offensive coordinator to Alabama.
Whoa.
Lost their quarterback because he graduated. Right.
Whoa.
They got a Clay Hilton, which is an old-time guy.
Well, so let me back you up. They lost their offensive coordinator and their quarterback?
Yeah, the quarterback graduated. The offensive coordinator went to Alabama.
Oh, shit.
So, again, this is another group they've got a lot of new coaches coming in, but the running back, what's the kid's name, Jalen White. He's a 5th-year senior.
They got
good. They got what sounded like a pretty strong offense, but again, they lost their coordinator. So
and their quarterback.
So
they got to come in and just rebuild, retool the whole damn thing.
They struggle on defense. Their defense, defensive coordinator has been there. It's his 2nd year. They struggled last year, so they're hoping for some improvement there. So the Georgia Southern's one of those. From everything I've read and everything I've seen, they're just kind of one of those in the middle limbo teams that nobody's really sure what's going to happen with them yet.
Okay. Well, we talked about in the MAC conference how I thought that Toledo was going to win. Got a chance to be the Group of 5 winner.
Right.
But my other opportunity, I think it's Troy.
Think so.
Well, here you go. Listen to this non-conference schedule. They're at home against Florida A&M. They are at home against Louisiana Monroe. They are at home. They're home against Nevada, home against Memphis, at Iowa, and then home against Florida A&M. So, I don't know. You got Nevada, Memphis, Florida A&M, and Iowa.
Okay.
Iowa's probably going to slap them, but Troy can beat Iowa.
Sure.
And if they do, they're going to stay in the top. They're going to be in the top 25.
Right.
And the rest of this conference, I think they can. I don't know.
Well, I'll go the other side of it and tell you why I think they're going to struggle.
Do it.
Number one, they lost their head coach.
Okay.
He's the head coach at Tulane now.
Okay.
They got Jared Parker, which is the old offensive coordinator from Notre Dame. He's their new head coach.
Okay.
But they have 5 starters on offense and defense coming back. That's it.
Oh,
They
shit.
lost. They took a hit on the portal. They took
So
a hit
much
on
for my
regulations.
schedule idea.
The guy from Notre Dame is supposed to be. I mean, he's Notre Dame, so he's the.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Move
Move on.
Can you say the second coming and not be?
Yeah, don't say
okay.
that.
Can't say it. Sorry.
Of coaches.
Coaches, yes, because he's from Notre Dame. So it's another one of those, where we talked about the MAC and there was one coaching change. I mean, there's a lot of them in this one.
Yeah.
Because they're just that, if you can call them a step up from the MAC, they're just that other conference that people are looking at, and you do well. And Troy's had back-to-back 11-win seasons, and sure enough, 11-win seasons, and coach is gone.
Everybody goes away.
Yeah, he's going to go. So
well, all right, good choice. I mean, I think you've already persuaded my decision on that one. We're going to move on to South Alabama.
South Alabama, they finished 7-6 last year, 4-4 in conference.
They've got North Texas, Ohio, Northwestern State, and at LSU. So, maybe 5-6 wins.
Maybe.
There's nothing about them that blows me away.
Well, here we go. Head coach, Kane Momack. Starting quarterback, Carter Bradley. Leading rusher, LaDamian Webb. All-world wide receiver, Colin Lacey. All gone. South Alabama, they promote. And for those of us around here, you're going to cringe when you hear it. They have promoted Major Applewhite to run the show. I didn't know he was still around. I figured he was somewhere, but...
Okay, well then they're not going to win it all. Moving on.
They're young. They've got a bunch of youngsters. They got a quarterback coming up. A lot of these kids are saying are kids that Applewhite recruited, freshmen and sophomores. They've lost a ton. They have lost a ton. I think they're still going to be pretty good just because of who they are, and but I don't think they're going to compete for a whole. I think you got them. I think they're like 6th, 7th, 8th in the conference, somewhere in that range. I'm not overly impressed with it, but then again, I don't like Major Applewhite, so I could be a little bit biased in my opinion. That's a lot.
What about Marshall? They got a vicious non-conference schedule. They play at home against Stony Brook, but then they go to Virginia Tech, then they go to Ohio State, and then they come back home to Western Michigan. All 4 of those games, well, Stony Brook they'll win, but there's 3 of those 4 that are losable.
It seems like they, and I may be wrong, but it seems like they always are stacked.
They always do a stacked schedule. I mean, they get paid out the ass for it now, and kudos to them for going out there and playing the big guys. I just don't know if they can come back from all that and still get. I mean, I think it's going to give them good experience to be strong in the conference. They might win the conference,
right?
But I don't know if it'll keep them high enough in the rankings to do anything about the playoff.
Right, and I mean they got it. And what's funny is you do research on some of these things, and you hear about the players and the players and the players, and what I kept reading about this is their coaching staff. People are impressed with their coaching staff. The portal killed them. Yeah. They lost their quarterback. They got a transfer from Tulsa, actually.
Really?
Braylon Braxton, supposed to be their quarterback this year.
Huh.
So they got like 3 new starters on offensive line, transfers for wide receiver, transfer at running back, a new offensive coordinator, Seth Dowdy. A lot of new parts.
Yeah.
But a new coordinator. And like I say, everybody raised, I don't know, I'm just speaking from what I read. Everybody raised about their coaching staff. So I want to give them everybody the experts the benefit of the doubt. I think they're going to have a little bit better season. They were 3-5.
The coaching staff can only do so much. You got to have the tools. You got to have the pieces to put it in play. I mean, everybody talk about what a great coach, Coach Deion Sanders was. Okay, he's great. Okay, they're going to win the conference. Shit, they won 5 games.
He's a great recruiter.
You have a recruiter. How he recruited guys that allowed them to finish 8th in a very, very weak Pac-12. How is that a great recruiter?
He brings in recruits that are supposed to be.
Thank you.
All world. Okay, that's why I question.
And we will be doing the Big 12 soon, and I'll try to keep my patience. Coastal Carolina is next. What do you think?
Oh man, Coastal Carolina. That was one of the top ones. They finished 8-5 last year, 5-3 in conference.
Well, they can run the table because here's their non-conference schedule.
What's their schedule look like? I haven't seen that.
Jacksonville State, who's going to be good, but I don't think they're this level. William and Mary at home, at Temple, and Virginia at home. That's their non-cons, and the rest of these games, yeah, they got App State, and they'll play Appalachian State, and they'll play James Madison. But so they play James Madison about the 6th game of the season. That'll tell them how they are as far as the level of this conference. So, I mean, the first 5 or 6 games are going to tell you how this team's going to do.
Yeah, and they lost their quarterback to North Carolina State, and they lost 8 of their 11 starters on defense.
Wow.
So yeah, they're gonna their first 2 or 3 games you're gonna see. The Jacksonville State game will be a good game. Jacksonville State's one of the lower levels, but they're still usually decent.
Yeah.
William and Mary, Temple, I don't worry about Virginia. The Virginia game's going to where I think you're going to see. Not that Virginia's real good,
Right.
but it should be a step up. It should be.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you're going to see, if with the new quarterback, new sophomore quarterback, new leadership, new defense, I think that's when you're going to see if they what they've got for a team that finished. Like I said, they finished 8-5 last year.
Yeah.
They went to the Decent Bowl last year, so yeah, they've got the shot. I think they got a chance to make a little bit of noise, not a ton, but they'll make a little bit of noise.
Let's go to the top 5 of the conference. What it looks
you got?
like as far as everybody's talking this, that, and the other. Arkansas State, the Red Wolves.
Arkansas State 4-4 last year, 6-7 in overall.
They're at home against Central Arkansas. They're at home against Tulsa. Then they go to Michigan, and then they go to Iowa State.
And they've got, I did not realize this. I didn't realize Butch Jones is their head coach. I didn't know he was down there.
Wow.
2-10, then 3-9. So, I mean, they're holding out hope that Butch Jones is going to do something. They were hoping for everything I was reading on their dirt sheets and whatever else. They were kind of hoping Butch Jones would bring in a better quality from the portal.
Right.
Not happening.
Well, not happening yet.
They got a freshman quarterback. They got 6 sophomores that are all coming back. They've got a lot of returners.
Right.
A lot of returning. I think they return. I think they said 8 on offense and like 7 on defense. They're young. People are putting a lot of hope in Butch Jones, and they're really hoping to really hit the portal this next season again.
True.
From what everybody's talking.
True.
But like I said, they were 4-4 conference, 6-7 overall, which is there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the teams in this conference finished 6-7 or 7-6.
Right.
So you got a whole lot of middle of the road here, and they're just one of them.
Louisiana Raging Cajuns.
Yeah.
They start at home against Grambling, then they go to Kennesaw State, then they have Tulane at home, then they go to Wake Forest. And that's it. That's all their non-conference is.
I'll tell you what, this is the team. They're returning 9 defensive starters, their entire offensive line. They lost their quarterback to Houston, but they have experienced guys back behind them. These guys are like number, I think 2 and 3 in the power rankings, and they're in their conference everywhere you're looking. And people are looking at them to.
I think they can.
I'm sorry, man. Who did you say they play?
They play Grambling, Kennesaw State, Tulane, and Wake Forest.
They start off 2-0. I think Tulane's going to be the test to see where they're at. I think they can beat Tulane.
Now they can beat Wake Forest.
And Wake Forest, I haven't looked much at Wake Forest, but Wake Forest has never really
I think these guys can. So if they do that, they can run the table and be in running for that.
Right.
They
finished 3-5. I was looking, just kind of doing just random numbers. I was looking at them possibly winning 8-9 games this year.
Well, I mean,
shot.
Well, their only issue again, like everybody else, is how will they fare against James Madison? Everybody's saying James Madison's going to be the guy.
Right.
They play them. Where do they play them? Hell, they don't play them this year. They're not even in.
They're not on it.
No. They don't get them in this round, so
nice.
That's even better.
That's better for them. That's going to be. That's to line up that schedule even better.
Let's move to Appalachian State.
App State.
Which is always a threat to win something.
Always a scary one. I actually have them winning it this year. I actually got them down for that.
It's a good choice. I mean, they're 4 non-conference, or East Tennessee State.
They got the preseason Offensive Player of the Year and Joey Aguilar, the quarterback.
Yeah.
Their top 6 receivers are coming back. They didn't lose anybody off. They got 15 of the 21 top tacklers and defenders coming back. I mean,
their only non-conference game they might lose is at Clemson.
They got Clemson. They got Liberty, I believe. So
they do have Liberty. That's correct.
But I see them as one of those teams that could possibly win.
Well, they play James Madison next to last game of the season, and
That's going to be.
if they can get past Clemson, they can get past Liberty. I mean, I think they can beat Liberty. I mean, Liberty.
Oh,
Everybody's talking about how Liberty might be the team to win the Group of Five simply because their schedule sucks.
Right.
Their schedule has they don't play a schedule, and they can run the table because they're not playing anybody.
Right.
This team can beat them. I think this team can beat them.
Yeah, I look at App State to have a shot to win 10 games this year.
Yes.
I think they got a legitimate shot to win 10.
And if they win 10, and depending on who they are, I mean that could get them enough. That could get them enough to get into the big
They don't play any big. I mean, other than Clemson, they make a good show. They win 10 games and put a good showing against Clemson.
Yes.
They got a shot to pull that last spot.
Yes, they do.
So
They truly do. Let's go to Texas State. Now, Texas State has got a schedule made for champions. They got all the conference games here. They do not play James Madison. And their non-conference schedule is Lamar, Texas San Antonio, Sam Houston State, and Arizona State. That's their non-conference schedule. And they do not play James Madison. They do play, let's see, do they get App State? They do not have Appalachian State either.
well, they got a shot then. I didn't realize that schedule. I mean, because they've got a 1,300-yard rusher coming back. They got 4 of their offensive linemen coming back. They've got a receiving corps coming back, and they got this guy's he's regarded as one of the best edge rushers. He's going to go high in the draft. A guy named Ben Bell as one of the best edge rushers in the country. They got a shot. I didn't realize their schedule was that light.
Well,
I mean, they've got a legitimate shot.
The only two big, I mean, according to the list that we've made here, the two best teams they play in this division are Louisiana and Arkansas State.
Right.
They don't play App State. They don't play James Madison. They don't play Marshall. They don't play Troy.
So
I mean, they do play Troy.
Yes, they got Troy,
but
and Arizona State.
And Arizona State, but they can run the table as well and just surprise the shit out of people.
I think Arizona State would be tough one. I think that just by what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, they can beat Troy. But
yeah,
sure. I didn't realize how weak that schedule was. That Texas State's going to be one to watch then.
Absolutely, and we go with James Madison, who they say is the cream of the crop.
And they've only been in the FBS for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean
good Lord.
Your non-con is at Charlotte, then you're at home against Gardner Webb, whoever the hell that is. Then you go to North Carolina, and then you're at home against Ball State.
Right. But again, like we talked about, 2 good years, and Kurt Signetti, he's gone. He went to Indiana.
He's gone. They do get App State.
Yep.
Next to last game.
They got the Holy Cross coach. They got a transfer from Washington. Dylan Moore's a quarterback. They got a transfer from North Texas at running back. They've got a new coordinator coming out who's got one of those high-powered offense type guys. James Madison,
Well, they're all. I mean, they've only been around a couple of years as far as Division One.
FBS,
but they dominated so much in the other levels, which is why they moved up. They said they thought they were ready, and they proved they were ready.
And again, you prove yourself for 2 years, and boom, you're gone.
Sure. And everybody leaves, but it also gives them the opportunity to recruit that level up to them. I mean, the transfer portal works both ways. I mean, either these guys are going to go to the higher level, or the guys that don't get to start at Ohio State and OU and Michigan and all, they'll come down a level so they can play every day. And that's where these teams are going to be better. So I mean, I'm gonna go.
Who are you going?
I'm going Texas State. I think the schedule just screams.
Well, I was going App State until you read off schedules.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
at this level. My problem has always been at this level. I think schedules mean more. I think the talent level at this level is pretty equal. I know it's not. But my brain won't tell me that it's not.
To an extent, it is.
I think it's more equal than the Power 5.
Yes.
It's more equal than, I guess, the Power 4 now. I guess it's more equal than the Power 4.
Yes.
And so I think I look at schedules and see who can possibly win the most games.
Well,
just by schedules.
Right, when that plays out, like I said, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the teams last year finished 6 and 7 or 7 and 6.
Yes.
That shows you how equal these teams are.
Yes.
I think just by looking at the schedule, I still think James Madison, but I think James Madison won Texas State at close to.
Well, and anything can happen at this level.
Right.
They're non-conference games, which I put a lot of faith in. You know, you've kind of blackballed a couple of my opinions, and for reason too, because those damn transfers.
Right.
I mean, my God, that can make a huge difference.
Sure.
But the thing is you just don't know, because we're looking at their non-conference schedules, and some of them play in Illinois or in Indiana,
Clemson,
right, or Florida, and then you just don't know how good they're going to be.
Right.
You know,
you don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, like on the in the MAC, I'm thinking that there's going to be an upset against either Texas A&M or Penn State. You know, but yet they're in the top 25 of everybody, all the experts, top 25. Those are two of the top 25 teams in the nation. Well, I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
But they are every year.
That's a bunch of bullshit, because they never win a big game.
No, especially A&M.
They never win a big game.
A&M is the quintessential. Here, let's get ranked and let's get to the top 5 and then just lose 5 in a row.
Well, they should, but see, I don't know if we're ever going to get through the SEC or the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's going to be
conversation.
tough.
It's going to be hard.
We're going to have to put an allotment of
It's
time.
going to be hard,
because
because
buzzer
there's
say time's up.
There's so many that I'm just going to rail on. But anyway, that's why we love college football.
Yes, so much to talk about. And for my surprise pick, I got Old Dominion as the possible surprise. So
Really?
watch them and see.
Old Dominion?
Old Dominion.
They're not even on the board. They're covered up. Wait, here we go.
There you go, Old Dominion, right there.
Yeah,
There you
baby. But like I say, we do appreciate you coming in, Todd, and listening to us. We are having a good time doing this for you folks out there, and I hope you are learning something from this. When you go watch you some college football, you'll have a little bit more information in your
Exactly.
pocket and enjoy the game a
When
little
you're
bit
flipping
better.
through and you hear somebody say, hey, Appalachian State or Kennesaw State, you're going to say, hey, I've heard about them.
Because we said so. But anyway, like, subscribe, share, come back, give us some comments down here. Let us know what you think about anything that we may have missed, or if you got a comment to make us look a little bit bad, go right ahead and comment about how we messed something up.
Doesn't
We'll take
bother
it.
me.
But anyway, we do appreciate you coming in here. Spread the word, get other people going. We're going to have the rest of the conferences coming after here sometime shortly, so stay in touch. Click that little bell on there, and it'll ring every time we go up there and say, hey, we're back on the air. So we appreciate you coming in. Got anything else, Chuck?
Nope, do not. Just looking forward to the rest of them.
Talk to you soon.
See you later.